Okay, so tonight we're diving into the connection between confidence, values, and vision, and why we can often feel blocked from creating the life that we actually want. And so this isn't so much about motivation or manifesting your dream life in a vacuum. It's about understanding how your values drive everything and how resistance shows up. And when resistance shows up, it's there for some reason. It's doing something for you. It's there's some need that's being met there, some value underneath that resistance. And so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be working with that resistance as well and finding the values that the resistance has. And then we're going to bring both of those parts into alignment. So we're going to be doing a parts integration tonight. And so I had originally told you all to bring your values. Did you all do that? You did? I started questioning if I just wanted to start from scratch or not.
Scratch.
I agree, scratch.
Okay. All right.
I've got like 20 values, and I just seem lost in my own values.
Lost in your value.
Oh, maybe we want to hear your values. That'll give us ideas.
All right. Well, we'll work on it more. Like we're already like 45 minutes into this, but let's see what we can do. All right. We can always wrap up the second part on Thursday if need be. So let's talk about confidence a little bit more. So with confidence, what confidence really is. So we had that day where we were like going over thought, feeling, behavior, and confidence kept coming up. And I'm like, well, confidence isn't so much a behavior or a feeling. The feeling of confidence can come from something, but it's not really a feeling. And it's not really a value either. It's like a culmination of having our values. Confidence comes from taking action. And it comes from embracing the fear, right? So if you recall on the vibrational scale, we have fear around in the middle of that scale. And the negative interpretation of fear is anxiety. And anxiety can take us downward into lower vibration emotions and all of the thoughts and feelings that come with that. And the positive interpretation of fear, do you remember what that is?
Excitement.
Excitement. Yeah. And so excitement can raise our vibration until we get to a place of courage and willingness. And so that's where that confidence can come from. So confidence and courage and willingness are closely related. In the personal growth world, the definition of courage is feeling the fear and doing it anyway, rather than feeling the fear and going to those other actions that we saw, shut down, close off, fight, flight, freeze, fawn, things that we do in the face of fear and of perceived threat. And so, very often when we're looking at confidence, we want to coach down to what's underneath the confidence. Where is their fear? And work on that. And so at the core of confidence is tension, right? That fear is tension. So why do we watch scary movies? Or why do people, I don't know if you all do, why do people watch scary movies and true crime podcasts? What do we get out of that?
Excitement.
It can be like enthralling or
Enthralling.
yeah. or you like to be scared. Like there's,
There's something,
there's like a buzz with being scared.
yeah, there's something that's exciting
Mhm.
about it. And that's why we watch movies in general. In any script, except maybe some really experimental script about nothing, but in any script, there's a formula. And it's all about building tension. There's a climax, and then we have the release of tension. Right? That's in every single script, movie, TV, every single story arc. It's about this building of tension. You have that climax, and then it's the resolution of the tension. And so there's something about that we enjoy, that's entertaining, that's exciting. We like getting pulled into that and feeling those emotions. And so, really, confidence is very much tied to feeling our emotions and being and having the courage and the willingness to feel our emotions, to be with our emotions, to be with our whole experience. Otherwise, we get into the avoidance and the attachment. And then we think we don't have confidence because we're avoiding the very things that can give us the confidence. Let's say you had to get brain surgery. And there was this brain surgeon who was real close to graduating from med school, but hadn't actually performed any surgery yet, but was really confident. He'd learned a lot, was really confident that he could do it. How would you feel about that surgeon operating on you?
No bueno.
But wait, their confidence, isn't confidence everything? Isn't confidence everything? If you have confidence, doesn't it make everything else work out? Doesn't it make everything else better?
I would say that's arrogance.
Mhm. Mhm.
You said we don't have confidence because we're avoiding, what was it you said?
Because because we're avoiding the very things that can give us confidence,
Okay, thank you.
which is taking the action. Taking the action, doing the things we're afraid of, having courage and having willingness to explore those very things that we think we're deficient in. So we think we're deficient, and so we don't take action in that direction because it would just prove that we're deficient. We don't
Taking
we
action.
don't learn the new stuff, right?
Mhm.
So if I don't think I'm smart enough to they become a doctor, right? Then I won't go in that direction, even if something in me really wants to become a doctor. If I don't think that I'm capable of it, if I don't think that I have what it takes, if I don't think I'm smart enough, whatever, I will avoid going in that direction because um, because of that insecurity or the lack of confidence. But in order for me to get the confidence, I would actually have that courage and willingness to do something new, to be uncomfortable. Because anytime we're learning something new, it's uncomfortable. And say, I'm going to go for it. And I know that it's going to be hard. It's going to be tough. It's going to take time. Confidence is something that comes with time and energy. And as we move forward, so a lot of times, I'll say this, a lot of times what we think we need is confidence, but really what we need is determination or courage. And when we move forward with determination or courage, then we gain the skills, we gain the capabilities. And then with that skills acquisition, we know hey, look, I can do this. I am capable. I am intelligent. I am enough in XYZ ways. Then that gives us the confidence.
So confidence is a byproduct. It's an outcome.
Exactly. Confidence is a byproduct of moving in the direction of what it is that we want. And ultimately, our values. When our values are aligned, then it makes everything fulfilled. Rather than, oh, I'm just getting these goals because I think I should get these goals. So when we're determined, when we're committed, like commitment is everything, right? And when we're committed, we don't want to be committed to a goal. We want to be committed to our values. Because like our values aren't going to, our goals aren't necessarily going to bring the fulfillment that we think that it's going to bring. But commitment to our values will. Because how many times have we gotten a goal and it's satisfying for a moment, and then we need a new goal. We need a new, a faster car, a bigger home, like saving up for, a facial procedure, and then we need another one. We get like tattoos. We need another, like just like things that never quite scratch the itch, and people need more and more, bigger and better, and it doesn't create lasting fulfillment. But living life according to our goals, and then according to our values and our vision, which we'll be coming up with a vision as well, and then taking action based on that, that will create the fulfillment that we want, and it'll also create the confidence. And for instance, Catherine, do you mind if I use you as an example?
Sure.
Years ago, when you went back to work, you were a loan officer, then you were a stay-at-home mom, and then you were going back to work, and there was suddenly a test you had to take, an exam that you had to take in order to get licensed or certified or whatever. And you were really nervous about that. And you had told me a percentage, I believe, of how many people pass that exam the first time. And I think it was pretty low. Do you recall?
I don't recall what it was. Yeah.
But it's pretty low, right? And so
Yeah.
people would have to take it multiple times before they could pass. And so you were nervous, and you didn't think that you were smart enough to be able to do it, especially after years of being stay-at-home mom. And we worked together. We had a session together. And how many times did it take you to pass that exam?
One time, baby.
One time. One time. And so what did that do to your confidence in that area?
Yeah, it definitely made me feel proud and confident.
Yeah. So do you have any issues with confidence in that area of your life?
No, not in that area.
No. Right? Because you got uncomfortable. It took you a while to decide, I'm gonna do this, because it was scary. You didn't know if you wanted to do it. You didn't know if you could do it. You did it. And I watched you do that before with things where you didn't think you could do it, and then you did it, and you were like the best at what you did. And so that's a perfect example of how it's the doing, taking action, that willingness to face the fear and do it anyway, where we then build the capabilities, and then our confidence increases. So confidence is about this ability to feel this tension inside of us and to relax into it, to feel our emotions and move with it rather than fight it. If we fight it, we go into the anxiety, we go down. If we lean into it, we relax into it, we move with it, we then go up that vibrational scale. And just like a movie, that tension can be quite intoxicating though. And once we make that mind shift, which can come with establishing our values, then we can ride on that excitement. When you're dating, you go on the first date or two or something, and it's that tension there that's so exciting. That's what a lot of people get addicted to when they get bored in their relationship. They're like, I want that. But we don't want to live in tension all the time. We don't want a partner that's going to make us question ourselves all the time. We want to move into a place of feeling more comfort and secure and safety rather than what's going to happen next. Ooh, we want to move into a place where we can rely on that connection rather than question it, because that's part of the tension, is the questioning, the not knowing, the newness. Even in sex, it follows that same predictable pattern as the movies. The tension builds, and then with the orgasm, what happens? It's contraction, tightening up, and then it's release. Contraction, release. And in order to have an orgasm, there's got to be a surrender, a letting go, and letting that movement of energy move through. Right? So when we lack confidence, it's not because there's some sort of character flaw within us. It just means that we haven't built the capacity to move through that tension yet. And so most people quit before they reach that release state, that surrender state. And so what we've been doing in this process is we've been building our capacity to be with the tension, to be with the allness of everything, and to lean into that discomfort, to even welcome it, feel it, let it be there, and let it move through. And so this is the micro or the inner world. And we want to do the same thing now in the macro world, in the outer world, as you're engaging with people, with situations, with goals, with anything that you want to do or accomplish. What's coming up here? Can I welcome this? Can I lean into this? Can I allow this tension to move through? Can I take the action and not quit before I reach that release that comes when all of a sudden, like when you were learning to drive, how did you drive? 10 and 2, right? Tens. And now how do you drive? Like, you're chill, you're just chill. You space out. You don't remember the ride home because you're just like lost in thought. And you're like, oh, yeah, look, I'm home. You don't have to think about it. You've developed the capacity to drive home, to drive and not have to think about everything, and not have to have your hands in a certain place, and not be, like, make sure I'm checking my window, like no, you just do it. You know how to do it on the unconscious level. And so that's what happens. That's what that release is. All of a sudden, you're just able to do it. You don't really have to think too hard about it. And you step into that world of flow where it becomes easy. And that's where you get that real payoff. And it allows you to go to those higher vibration states.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, can you help me put this in the context of a conversation with someone who is close to me and knows how to get under my skin and doesn't mean to, and then I get flustered and frustrated by their response to something I say, and I start feeling defensive and I start feeling like angry, and how do I be with in that moment how do I be with that tension while someone is still present there with me?
So, um, context plays a lot into it. If if we had more time, I'd want to coach you down around that. One thing that you can do with the being with is notice this is the meaning that I'm making out of it. This is the story I'm telling myself. How am I trying to be right here?
Mm-hmm.
How am I getting triggered
Mm-hmm.
by what they're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because if I told you that your teal robe was ugly and you have terrible style and I can't believe you wear a teal robe, what would you be thinking about me?
My robe is pink.
Yeah. So what would you think about me?
That you're wrong.
That I'm wrong, but you also might be questioning my mental health, right? Or my color blindness.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be making it about you?
Say that again.
Would you be making it about you if I was criticizing you
Hmm.
for wearing a teal robe?
No, I wouldn't,
Why not?
because I have full faith that, you know, there's something just kind of it's not I'm not going to take it personally because it's personal to you.
Yeah, it's about me.
Yeah, it's about you.
And so how can you there, you got it?
Yeah, I got it. It's frustrating though because it's like it seems to happen every time with like certain individuals who matter, like mother, you know? So it's like,
If it's triggering something in you,
hmm,
it's about you.
uh-huh. Okay. Yeah.
Because otherwise you'd be saying, "Mom, I'm not wearing a teal robe."
Yeah.
So there's a part of you
Yeah.
that is tender around that. You're believing something she's saying. If she's criticizing you about the food that you're eating, there's part of you that is like, yeah, I should be eating healthier food, or I don't know. So it's about you. That's the perception is projection where it's a mirror
Mm-hmm.
for you to look at you. And it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. It doesn't mean you have to go deep into your past and be like, oh, what
Mm-hmm.
is this? It could just mean, oh, this is here to teach me that I need to have boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
I need to speak up for what I want and say,
Mm-hmm.
I don't really like it when you talk to me like that.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't your problem. This is my problem. This is my path, my life, and I don't want to talk about the food that I eat anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I want to have a different kind of relationship with you, and you set up that context and those boundaries, and then you enforce them.
Got it. Thank you.
Right. So it's all about you. Yeah. All right. So let me see what I can skip over here. So this one of the things that's confident that is attractive about confident people. Well, let me ask you, what is attractive about confident people?
I find truly confident people, not arrogant people, to be there's a certain ease about them. So they're sort of centered and calm.
Mm-hmm. And so what do you think is like behind or underneath that ease that's there, that chillness?
Well, in that case, I know it's behind chillness, but um uh all right, well, their confidence is behind it. Their um it's like assuredness or I can't find the right word. There's just a peace because they're not questioning their capacity.
Not questioning their capacity. What else are they not? What else is not happening in that situation where they're assured, chill, easy to be around?
Reactive, defensive, aggressive.
They're not
Things that are not
judging.
judging.
They're not judging because I don't know, it's almost like there's no need to.
Mm-hmm. Because if everything's a projection, what does judgment mean when we're judging
we're judging ourselves.
Yeah, basically. It's about ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes back to what you were talking about, Carissa, as well. When you were like, well, they're not reactive and this or that. It's because they're cool within themselves. And so they're not getting upset over the smallest things. Maybe not even the smallest things, but even bigger things. They can let those things go more because they're sure about themselves. A big thing that's underneath the confidence, and tell me how you feel about this, is an unneediness. Mm-hmm. So think about, I know you've all dated men, and think about men that have been needy, that have wanted validation from you in some way. Give me your time, give me your attention, give me your words of affirmation, give me sex. Have you all experienced that? Did you ever have a friend that was needy? I remember in high school, there were these two girls that I was in choir with, and they were with each other all the time. People would joke that they were like sisters. And then all of a sudden one day they weren't friends. And the one gal was hanging out with me. And then she was following me everywhere. And I just felt like I couldn't get away from her. And then school ended. That was my senior year. I didn't keep that friendship going, but I ended up running into the ex friend later. And she was like, oh my God. She goes, she used to follow me around everywhere. And that's why the relationship ended. She's like, people thought that we were super close friends. But for me, it just felt like someone that was like siphoning my energy off. And that's the way it felt for me. And I've had that show up many times where I'm just like, no, like I don't want to be needed that much, for you to rely on me that much, for you to be right next to me anywhere we go somewhere, and you just have some self-reliance to be able to depend on yourself, go talk to other people, and not need me as your person to hang around all the time. And so this non-neediness is really attractive. And that's one reason why women will go for the bad boys, the bad guys. There's something attractive about the bad guy that is so self-assured in himself that he doesn't need you. And a nice thing about the bad guy too is you typically know what you're getting, because they'll express what they're having and what they're not having. With the nice guy, they're playing nice. They're doing things to please because they think that's what you want, but they're not being authentic. And so deep down, they have attachments. They're doing things to get something, to get your approval, to keep you in their life so they can have sex. They're being the nice guy. And that's why the nice guys are like, I don't understand. I'm such a nice guy. It's because they're not doing it because they really want to. They're doing it to get something. It's manipulative. And that's why so many women are repelled to nice guys. And like the bad guy, that's not good for them. And so for a man in that situation, what they want is to be tuned in to their authenticity, their emotions, what's coming up from that, and to be able to express themselves, to be able to express their compass. This is what I want and don't want. This is what I want in a relationship. This is what I want in a sex life, versus appeasing and then getting down the road and being like, well, this is what I really want. You never give me this. And then complaining and being resentful and losing their cool, being reactive. And then you're left going, what is this the same person? And women do that as well, right? Let me be who you want me to be so that you like me, rather than saying, no, I'm seeing if I like you. I'm looking to see if we're a match. I'm not going to change myself and shape shift in order to fit into what it is I think you want. I'm just going to be me. I'm going to be me and you be you. And if we're a good match, that's great. Let's have some fun. Let's go with it. Let's see where it goes. And so this is why confidence can be really attractive, because you know what you're getting. As long as you're asking the questions and having these conversations. But remember what we were saying earlier about the tension, the unknown, the uncertainty, that can be exciting. And so we often find ourselves in not great relationships because we're addicted to that feeling, because it makes us feel, especially if we're disconnected from our emotions. It's like, ooh, I'm feeling something now. And then we can also have an aversion to it, where once a relationship starts to get so intense, we'll push away and turn away. Right? So it all comes down to that soap analogy. If I'm grasping onto it too hard, it's going to slip out of my hand. If there's too much tension, it's going to slip out. If you're giving a massage, you need a certain amount of tension for it to be a good massage. Tension being pressure, right? You want the right amount of pressure for it to be a good massage. So this pressure, this tension in the right amount is enlivening. And it comes back to this yin yang, right? This interplay and swirl of energies. And then we get the release. We don't want to be in tension all the time. We want to be able to also have that release and that let go and this swirl and this play of the energies. All right.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
As you were talking, I first kept thinking that I don't think I know a non-needy man. Honestly, but beyond that, it made me realize how few authentically confident people are out there. Meaning, I know an awful lot of people who are like, they've got bravado, which does not necessarily mean that it's true confidence. So I don't know, like it just made me think about maybe how rare that actually is in this day and age.
I agree with you that it is rare. Yeah. And I don't know if we ever reach a place where we're always confident all the time, or always authentic all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Well, and confidence, that was another thing that came up for me while we were talking. It's like you can lose it, it can slip away, or maybe if you don't continue putting yourself in that moment of tension and release and continue to develop that muscle, you may, you can backtrack.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you can also lose it depending on different circumstances or situations that you can be in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's not like a blanket thing in any regard, meaning that everybody has things that they are insecure about.
Yep. Yep. And
Um,
it'll change over time too. Like I know of a few people that are perfectly okay with the aging process, like women in particular. They're like, oh my gosh, I've been wanting to be an old, gray-haired lady with wrinkles for the longest time. Like, I think it's so cool. But for most people, it's a challenging process. And I know for me, it's continuous. Like I get to a place where I'm in acceptance of these things that I don't necessarily like. And then there's more. And then there's more. And then it changes again. And so it's an ongoing process. And that's another thing about confidence is part of it, part of being confident can be accepting the fact that we're not confident in certain areas.
Mm-hmm.
That's the acceptance.
So that's like real confidence, right? It's tied to vulnerability.
Yeah. Yeah. And it also comes down to the problem solving stuff around the worry. It's like, am I willing to do that? Yeah, I can accept that I'm not confident about this or that. Specifically, instead of across the board, I don't have confidence. No, I'm not confident in this area, in this context. You're going to act differently around a boss. Your authenticity, your confidence is going to be different when you're around an authority figure, someone that can make decisions about your life. When you're confronted with a police officer. I had a bad traumatic encounter with a police officer a couple years ago, right down the street from my home, with my autistic son, who'd been harmed by men in uniform in the past. And the next day when I went to go for a walk and it was kind of late outside, I went into I don't know if it was full-blown anxiety attack, panic attack, but I definitely had a bunch of anxiety come up. I was not feeling confident about going outside and walking. And so because I have these skills and tools, I was like, okay, let's look at this. And I spent, I don't know, at least a couple hours processing all of that. And then ended up not because I was directing it, because it naturally unfolded. My energy went up, up, up until the high vibration to that ultimate bliss area, and getting downloads and awarenesses and all of that. But before that happened, as I was in the welcoming stage, I was like, oh, this is how people get phobias. This is how people decide to not leave their house and get agoraphobic. One of my friends was agoraphobic. Parissa, you know her because she was in that last workshop that you were in. And she moved out of the agoraphobia, but she still had fears around leaving the house and stuff like that. But I was like, I could very much see this is how people get these deeply ingrained phobias, because most people don't know where they come from, because it just kind of builds up, and one day they're like, I worked with someone once. Well, I've worked with quite a few people with driving anxiety, and these phobias are actually really easy. In one session they're gone. Usually they're really easy because we're able to find where they come from, and they're usually nothing you would think so. And so this person's driving anxiety actually came from feeling like they had no control in the things that were going on in their household, and the things that was going on with their daughter, and trying to control it, but also feeling that they didn't have control, and realizing, oh, I actually have to let go of control. I need to stop having to control everything. And then they're like, oh yeah, I didn't have any driving anxiety after that. So I got a little off. What were we talking about? Did I answer your question?
We're talking about confidence. Yes.
So yeah, so you're right, Kristen, that it's not feasible. I don't believe it's feasible for us to hold some sort of standard that we're going to be confident all the time, that we're going to be authentic all the time. Because it actually serves us well to not be authentic at times. It can keep us safe. It can keep us from getting fired. And so in yogic philosophy, 2 precepts. One is ahimsa, which is kindness, and another is honesty. And so honesty means authenticity. I'm telling you the truth about what I'm feeling and what I'm thinking. And sometimes that can butt up against kindness. And we're going, oh, well, which am I supposed to choose? Authenticity, honesty, or kindness? And in yoga philosophy, they say choose kindness. Sometimes we think something is unkind, though, and so we hold back our authenticity. Sometimes the kindest thing that we can do is telling an uncomfortable truth. But we don't do it because we think it's unkind. But the kindest thing could be to share an uncomfortable truth, an uncomfortable observation. Yeah, to give negative feedback. And so it's something to search within ourselves about. All right. So where are we at? All right, we've got an hour left. So why don't we take a break, and then we'll come back and we'll work on the values, and anything that we don't get through, then we'll just pick it up on Thursday. Are you all going to be able to make it on Thursday? You're not going to be able to make it on Thursday, Catherine? Okay. Well,
I'm going out of town.
Got it. Okay, so fingers crossed that we can get through it all, because this second part is really like the really good piece that I wanted y'all to get. So fingers crossed, see if we can move through it quickly.
Can I just share something funny with you guys? We were talking about control, and I thought about an instance of my ex who definitely always wanted to be in control. And like, we went on a roller coaster, and I didn't like force him to. He saw that I was going alone. Like, he hated roller coasters, and he saw, like, he took pity on me because I was going on every single ride alone, and he decided he'd go with me on one. I really appreciated that. But he didn't want to go with the flow of the roller coaster ride, so he held himself stiff and like closed his eyes the whole time, and basically like didn't breathe until it was over. And what that did to his neck is it ended up like, what's the word? Like whiplash, or whatever. Cause like he wouldn't allow himself to flow with the ride. So he held himself stiff, closed his eyes, and was not like open, just closed, and try to like hold on to any sort of control he had left. But it left him in like a, what's the word? Like a lame, like handicapped, debilitated state afterward. And I just thought that's a good analogy. And it's funny to think about.
You know how when you hear of like car accidents where there's a drunk driver, and the drunk driver is the one that walks away with like no scratches and stuff? It's because they're all loose. Mm-hmm. They're not bracing for impact. They're just like, they're chill. We're going to go into the values now. We're going to do it a little bit different than we did before. And I'm going to coach you around it more. I want you to think about what it is that you want. Now, we just talked about confidence. It does not have to be related to confidence. If you don't want, it can be anything. And it can be any part of your life. So it can be in any one of these areas. And you're going to be sharing the goals. So if it's super personal, then maybe pick a different thing that you want. So it could be around money, business, family, intimate relationships, sex, health. What's the bottom one here? Self-love. Change self-love. When I'm coaching people, I don't usually correct them, but when it comes to values, self-love is like setting yourself as separate from yourself. And we'll talk about this in a little bit around how that just creates an against, parts of you against each other, like making you separate from love. So instead, just make it love. Right. But anyway, you can put self-love, self-care in here for the purposes of this. Health, spirituality, self-expression. So just find something that you want moving forward. So do you all have something that you want? So a goal that you can set for yourself moving forward?
I'm struggling with this a little bit.
Okay.
I would say self-love for me.
Self-love. Okay, so what specifically in that area do you want to create? And so here's the thing, you want it to be specific and simple, and it has to be measurable. So that so that it's tangible and objective. So that if we were to get a third party to verify it, they'd be able to be like, oh yeah, I know Catherine has that goal because she went and bought that new car. It has to be something that you can measure. What's yours, Parissa?
Question. It's a value or a goal?
So right now, we're going to work on a goal, and then we're going to elicit values from there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my goal is to set healthy boundaries with family members.
Okay. How will you know that you have that?
You said the how has to be measurable?
Mm-hmm.
Or, okay.
Specific and measurable.
Could I say like less than 3 like explosive arguments for the remainder of the year?
It also has to be about yourself.
Oh, okay. Okay. Can maybe after I've come up with the specific boundary, like communicating it like in a like orally and in a written format, does that count?
I think that's going outside of the bounds of simple. You want it to be simple and also specific at the same time. And you want it to be measurable. You want it to be about yourself because you can't control other people.
Mm-hmm.
And you want it to be positive, what it is that you want versus what you don't want.
Okay, so focusing more on myself, but with the aim of having a better like boundaries with my family members. Could it be like being with my feelings before responding and like processing and doing inner work?
Yeah. How will you know that you've done that? And then we also part of measuring it is time.
Is what? Sorry?
Time.
Time.
Yeah. Like within the next 30 days, within the next 6 months. And I don't know. I'm wondering if you want to maybe do a goal that has a little bit more risk involved, something that would be more meaningful to you.
Can I have an example?
Let me ask you all this. If money and time were no issue, what do you want? What's your vision for your life? So sit with that for a couple minutes. If time and money were no issue, what would you want for your life? So this is something that's more bigger picture, crafting more the vision for your life. And then we'll chunk it down from there. But for now, permission yourself to let go of your rational mind and say, if I had $1 billion or $10 billion, it might take $10 billion, and time were not an issue, what would that be? Would it help to hear one of my visions?
Yes.
Yes.
So my big vision, it's been here for a while. This is twofold. So I was asking myself these questions at the time that I was going through my divorce. So 2010, 2011, 2013, it was a 3-year process. Not because it was dramatic, just we just didn't a rush. But I did need to think about what am I going to do with my life, because I didn't think that I could make a living as a coach, energy worker, yoga instructor at the time. And so I was researching a lot of different areas of what I could do, going back and get my master's degree or just get an associate's degree. There's good things you can do with an associate's degree, yada, yada, yada. And I said, well, what I do know that I want, and granted, this is not specific, but this is more meta. What I do know that I want is this was a 7-year goal at the time, because that's at the time when my youngest would graduate from high school. So my 7-year goal was that I would be traveling around the world full time, going from place to place, living in different cities, helping people, putting on workshops, doing one-on-one work. I didn't know what that would be, and that I'd be thriving. And so that was my 7-year goal. And each year, more and more of that was showing up. Where in 2018, I taught my first workshop out of state. And I taught in Seattle, I taught in Portland, I taught in LA, I taught down in Springfield, Missouri. And so these things just unfolded because I had this vision. 2020, everything shut back down. Then I started teaching online with people all over the world in all kinds of countries. I worked for other organizations, other coaches, working with them, teaching their materials. I've worked with and some of the like greats, the big people that are around. And that has all come from this vision. Now, once my youngest was graduated, that was 2020. And so everything was shut down then. Number one, so that inhibited that vision. Number two, I was like, I actually like being rooted. What was I thinking? I was thinking my kids would all be off doing their own things, but we're still close knit, and I don't want to go anywhere. All I want to do is be with my family. And so that's reassessing that vision. And so I've reassessed that vision. And now I'm back to the point of it came through. I'm going to travel for a year. I saw the route to travel, to live in my vehicle and travel and roam. But then there's this other vision that has come about in the process. And that is a vision that will create a new system and structure. So I don't know how plugged in you guys are into, the matrix and technology and just how our society is making us sick. And so what do people need? They need healers. There's even more need now for healers, coaches, retreat centers for people to get away, to get healed up. And so many people are looking for a way to exit the system, but there's not not a lot of viable ways to do that. But if we had a bunch of intentional communities that were retreat centers that grew healthy food, people want to live somewhere with healthy food. They just don't want to have to be doing it all by themselves, but living in community. But then taking these communities and syncing them up across the globe. So they're all connected and they have a currency exchange. So with intentional communities, you usually have to give 30 years to one community in order to retire and be taken care of. But instead, what if you spread that through these other communities? What if it operated like a co-op where the more that you live and contribute with your healing gifts that you love to do, whether that's working with the earth or whether that's doing healing work or whether that's doing accounting and taking care of the books for all of this stuff, it's creating a new system. And now we sync them up. So it's like a timeshare where you have ownership. And you can stay in this one in Missouri and you can stay in this one in Costa Rica and you can live there for a while. And there's just like a timeshare, there's different requirements, different points, this or that. Anyway, I don't have all of the answers, but that's my bigger vision. And that one has come up again now that I'm out of that 2021 shadowy period, which was in my astrology. And according to the astrology chart, that's going to start next year in a year. And so I'm going to be traveling for a year, and in doing so, looking at different places, different sites, different intentional communities, sharing this vision, getting investors, and building that up. Okay, that's a meta vision. I also have a money goal for by September 1st. I will have brought in so much money. And that can be through my business, it can be through other means. So that's a goal. And then I have smaller goals of I have offering my relationship course in the summer, my training course, teaching people to be a healer, do the stuff that I do in the fall. And in January, doing an energy mastery course, advanced level course, teaching Reiki. So those are all things that are on the books and that I'm working towards. Romance could be in there, but that's not until 2026 or 2027, according to my astrology. But I'm perfectly okay if there's no romance. Like, I don't need that in my life. I've already lived that life. I'm more of the oracle and sage now. I'm whole and complete within myself. So those are some examples of some goals. They might not be as big and lofty as my own. Any of you have anything come up?
I think I want to be a homeowner.
So you want to be a homeowner. Okay. By what time?
Um, by end of next year.
So by the end of 2026?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a good goal. Could we do something that is within this year?
Yeah. Saving money not big enough?
No,
So
that's good.
yeah, how much money do you want to save?
I want to save by December. I want to save $40,000.
That's a good down payment for our house.
And then Catherine can help you finance it. She can
And then finance it for you. That's right.
Great. Thanks.
You're welcome.
And
You
then
know, I think that's interesting. Can I say something, Lorraine?
sure.
before Parissa even said that, just from what she's told us over the course, I almost said, because she's talking about her family and the issues and this and that. So I assumed that she lived with her family. And I was thinking, oh, your goal should be to have your own place. And then she said that. So I think that's funny.
Yes.
So maybe you were picking up on it, or maybe you transmitted it to her,
I guess so.
like the energy work stuff we were talking about on Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, okay, so that's good. $40,000 saved by Descender. That's measurable, that's specific, it's simple. Is it a risk? Is it kind of edgy? Like,
Yeah, it's a risk because I have less spendable, what's it called?
income, but it's
Yeah,
doable. But it's doable.
it's doable.
Good. All right. Awesome. And it's about you and it's positive. Beautiful. All right. What about you, Kristen or Catherine? Have you got yours yet?
Do you have yours, Kristen?
And
No,
and it
I'm
could be, and it could be a continuation of one of the goals that we already had, for our program. You all wanted to start from scratch. It could be a
yeah.
continuation of a health goal, water, continuing with water intake. It could be something more simple. Because, Kristen,
Unexciting.
yeah, you want something exciting?
Yeah, I mean that's so unexciting. And then I was reflecting on I'm hard pressed to look back on my life and see any goal that I ever set that didn't have anything to do with weight loss. I think that's the only goal I've ever set for myself.
Oh, wow. Even with all your achievement and success?
No, I didn't. I, I've never been comfortable setting goals. So, uh, I
Success
again,
just happened.
yeah, I mean, it didn't just happen, but it wasn't something like this is what I want to be. I mean, I did open my own business and ran my own business for a while, and that was something that like, oh, I think I'm going to do this, but it wasn't like here's a goal by this time. I'm going to be it was much more um oh, I don't know, serendipitous than that.
Yeah.
So,
I've gone back and forth with goals over my life. Yeah.
it's even like picking the values. I was on our break, I went upstairs to say hello to Max, who just got home and it's been gone all day. And I was just like, yeah, it's like I feel like I freeze when those things are in front of me. I'm like, I'm gonna pick wrong. There's so much to pick from. I want them all. They're all, or I can't pick one at all. And so I don't know. This goal setting stuff brings up lots of
So
insecurities.
talk to me about, this larger vision that you have for yourself. Like, what do you want? What do you want your life to look like? What are ways that, like, if you look at your life, if you were to tweak it a bit, what
Hmm.
would it look like? Would you like to live somewhere different? Would you, um,
Yeah. So
I know you've already got a really great life as it is, so
I,
I think
I
I think that's
a
part of
lot
the
of things
problem.
are yeah, we should all have such problems. So, right. So I have a very, a lot of things are going well right now and are, I'm aware of my good fortune.
Yeah.
Um and, have made some drastic changes, you know, recently that really improved quality of life quite a bit. And I know we're not supposed to pick goals of that, like something that you don't want, but you know, what I've said over and over again is my goal is to never work for anyone again. So, but I think that's sort of still
Do you
something.
want to work at all? or are you
So yeah,
tired?
I I am enjoying this time, but I also feel a little bit more comfortable when I have some income. And you know, um, being someone who, yeah, I enjoyed being an earner, right? And my independence that came with that,
Yeah.
especially kind of coming out after my marriage broke up and what have you. So yeah, I I would like something that created some income. And so that has always been, these are even hard things for me to say because I feel like, who am I to, you know, how dare I think I can do these things
Would you say you'd like to create a goal around that?
around.
Like would you say that you'd like to start working again within the next year?
Well, I mean, I don't know that I want to work. Sort of the I don't know, my definition of work. Like that's sort
Would
of
you,
what,
would you like to generate to use your words, would you like to
yes,
generate an income
right.
this year? Would you like to have that solved?
Um, yes, I would like to have that solved or started.
Have you had any thoughts around what that would look like?
So yeah, I mean, much of, the past 6 months have been about, you know, trying to weave together kind of an offering or a something along the lines of, guidance and or coaching kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's always been an element of something associated to writing as well. So
All right. So writing or coaching.
mhm.
All right, we're getting somewhere. So would you like to focus on that for this?
Sure, but I feel like I need a lot of assistance, even saying the words, right? So
So, which one of those feels the most alive for you? Like something that you're like, yeah, I do want to move forward and get clarity and start taking action in that direction.
um
Because what we're going to do is we're going to work around the resistance. So that's why we need a goal so that we can work on the resistance around it. And we're going to do that through the lens of values.
yeah. So, well, then I think that it makes sense to work with the goal related to the writing because the resistance already came up with the writing throughout this program,
Got
which
it.
again was something I was doing, with great joy before I made it a goal.
All right. So you want to be a writer,
Yes.
right? What does that look like? What does that look like for you to be a writer
Um,
and be generating an income as a writer, correct?
now we're in fantasy land. So I don't know about
Well, I
that.
mean, this came up when we were talking about generating income,
Mm. Hmm. Hmm.
but it doesn't have to be. It could just be
So I'd rather decouple those things and
okay.
right. So the writing feels like it's an aspect of the vocation, which is a little more full spectrum than just writing. So,
Okay. So
if you
decouple
want,
those.
yeah.
So what does writing, being a writer, look like?
Well, it looks like, you know, um, um, actually writing every day. So,
Writing every day.
mhm.
And what's the larger vision that you see around writing?
Um,
If
hmm,
if the money, the time, the fears, all of that were non-issues,
mhm.
if you could wave a magic wand, what would that look like? And you'd be thinking about this too, Catherine. If you could wave a magic wand, what would that look like?
I, if I'm understanding the question correctly, but I think what it would look like is, you know, being published.
Ah, and being published and just being able to have books that you hand to friends and family, but it doesn't really show up on a bestseller list or anything like that, right?
No, I mean, that wouldn't hurt, but I don't, you know,
So I got a magic wand here.
mm,
What do you want? What do you want me to? What do you want me to say?
well, I don't know. Obviously, I'm like doing everything to not be squirming all over the place right now. Um, this is like super uncomfortable for me. You know, the idea would be that the book resonates or makes a difference with some others. So it lifts up. So I don't really love the idea of saying like I want it to be a bestseller. I want it to resonate with some people.
How many people would you like it to touch?
I don't know.
So in your wildest dreams, would it be 5 people or would it be 500,000 people?
Well, I mean, of course I'd prefer it to be 500,000, but again, we're in territory that I'm like, who the fuck do I think I am? So that's
I love
here's my resistance.
I love that that's coming up.
Oh, me too.
Yeah. So this is we're doing magic wand. You could have anything that you wanted. What would your wish be?
I don't have the confidence to wish. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So so let's chunk it down now.
mhm.
Okay. So in 3 months, 6 months, by the end of the year, a year, what would you like that to look like? A goal that you want to set that's specific and measurable?
Um,
And we're not doing the daily, we're not doing the everyday for this because we want to, set you up for success. That was more of a challenge we did this past month.
yeah. Um, well, maybe by the end of the year, have an outline, like a well-crafted outline for my book.
All right, I'm going to come back to coaching you around that. Catherine, you got something?
Yes.
You got something?
Yes. So, I picked self-love and health. Those are
Mm-hmm.
two things I would like to work on. Health being eating, taking control over the food rather than it controlling me, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when I say controlling me, you know, my brain's telling me, oh, you want something salty, oh, you want something sweet, and then getting out a bag of crackers or popcorn and sitting on the couch and eating too much
Got it.
or eating a bunch of Hershey's Kisses, which I did last night.
So let's chunk up. Let's chunk up.
So, it's not, I don't want it to control
Yeah.
me. So I want to eat healthy, eat cleaner. Um, and then that's as far as the food part, like I used to do. And so by me doing that, I'm controlling that by what I'm putting in my body,
Got it.
taking
So let's chunk up now. Okay.
okay.
So let's say a year from now or even 10 years from now, the larger vision that you have for yourself as you see yourself having implemented this, done this, and everything associated with that. Like, what is your ideal life, your magic wand kind of thing look like for you?
I don't really have an idea of what my life looks. I'm kind of, I don't know, just live one day at a time. I don't have any goals. Um, I just don't have any um exactly as far as where I want my life to go. I mean, I know one day I will retire, so um I
So,
don't know what my goal is down that road, but I
so,
would
so,
like,
so
you know,
let me ask you, if time and money were no issue, you'd retire, and then what? Would would
I don't know.
would you sit around the house? Would you stay in Missouri? Would you travel? Would you move down to Florida?
I don't know. So I don't have any goals as far as that other than um health and self-love is what I want to work on. So by me eating healthier and cleaner and taking control over that, hopefully I can live the type of life that my parents do. Um, being able to move around, get out of bed and go play pickleball or go whatever, go for a hike, not being confined to my house because I didn't take care of my body and I've got all these ailments. So I want to be healthy when I'm in my 70s, when I'm in my 80s, and not be confined to my house. I can get out and do things. Um, I want to start strength training. I know we should do that. I don't do that exactly per se. I do, but I don't. Um,
All right.
that's that.
All right. And I want to chunk down now. We chunked up. Let's chunk down. On before we do that, on the chunk up part, um research has shown that when if you write your goals down, you're more likely to achieve them than if you don't. And so I hear you all around goals. I've been in times in my life where I didn't want to have goals. I wanted to listen to what life had to say to me and go with the flow. And I think there's seasons for that. But I've also seen how I can get adrift when I don't have the goals, and that a lot of people can get adrift because the difference is that one is reactive. I'm reacting to whatever life is bringing to me versus I'm proactive and I'm using my power of creation and intention to create the life that I want. And then I'm bringing my subconscious mind on board. Values are a generalization about the experience that is important to you, so that you can shape your life so that you're having the experiences that are important to you versus the ones that aren't. And we've talked about that a lot over the course of the last 9 classes, how we often end up spending our time and energy and efforts in areas that really aren't the most important to us. Scrolling, going into coping behaviors, closing off. Instead, when we can be in alignment and making decisions with our values, then it's moving us in a direction. It's giving us direction, purpose, fulfillment. And so then our behaviors are now driven by an attempt to fulfill these values, to fulfill our intentions. And value, goal, intention are all can be very similar depending on the context. And so I think it's important to meditate upon this idea of, if money weren't an issue, what would you do with your life? What would you want? And this suggestion, you can do, if it feels good for you, you can do it. If not, but beyond, what we're doing here today, our time is almost at a close here, and we did not get as far as I thought we would. And so I think we've all heard about manifestation and the law of attraction. The problem with manifestation and the law of attraction is that it's pretending that you have what it is. And so it can make you complacent. It can make you drunk or high on your own supply, because you're like, oh, well, I'm visioning it versus seeing it out there and I'm moving toward it. It's something I'm moving towards. It gives us direction and something that we're moving toward. So let's chunk down now, Catherine. Let's find a simple and specific goal for you, because you put a lot there. And so you think of a time frame that you want to have, and it could be 3 months, it could be 6 months, it could be the end of the year, it could be a year. For these health, self-care related things, I think it's good to have a longer goal, but we also want to have those shorter term goals, because to have a year goal for, like, it's just kind of, what are you going to put it off to the last month?
Well, the self-love part was where I put working on my house, sorting through, everything that I've built up over the last 30 years, right?
Okay.
With my marriage and raising kids and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Sort through, organize, get rid of things in my house. So it's, if something did come up where I felt like, you know what, I'm ready to just get up and move on and start something different in, maybe it's another state, maybe it's a smaller house, maybe it's a condo. I don't know. I really don't. I wish I could tell you. At this point, I don't know. Maybe if I wasn't dating somebody,
Okay, so let's get back to the goal. This is also called Swedish death cleaning. I think it's Swedish. And it's a practice they do so that their kids don't have to go through all their stuff when they die. Loved ones don't have to go through your stuff. So let's make this simple and specific and measurable. So do you want to set a goal for like your garage, for your basement, or do you want to do whole house? Like what do you want to do?
Yeah, my garage, my basement, my closet, my guest
Okay.
bedrooms.
So when do you want the whole house to be organized by?
I would love for it to be done in 2025.
Okay, so by the end of the year.
Yes.
All right. So that would be December 31st.
Carissa, do you need anything for your new house?
Yeah, you want me to come help you?
I got lots of dishes I need to get rid of.
So Catherine, what you'll want to do is chunk that down even more. So that's the bigger one. And then you're going to want to chunk that down to have smaller goals. I'm going to have my garage. First, I'm going to work on my garage and I'm going to have that done by this point. And then I'm going to work on this part and I'm going to have that done. So you're going to want to, not right now, chunk that down. So into measurable pieces.
Okay.
So that you're coming up with a game plan.
Okay.
All right. And that'll also help you make it more specific so that you know all of the areas. Because right now, even just like whole house organized, which I have down here, like let's get it more specific so you know exactly what you're talking about. But that's good for now. Do you all want to go another 30 minutes?
I'm a little wiped out.
Okay. If so, Parissa and Catherine and I can go and do it.
Mhm.
Would you do this on your own before Thursday's class
Yeah,
for the
I mean,
part two?
I can do that on my own.
Yeah.
Have the recording to follow along.
Okay. All right. It's similar to before, asking yourself, those coaching questions,
Mhm.
what's important to me about this?
Mhm.
What will I have when I get this? Stuff like that.
Okay,
All right.
sounds good.
All right.
Night, everyone.
Bye,
See you
Kristen.
Thursday.
Bye. See you Thursday.
All right. Whew. Now I'm questioning everything.
You're questioning everything? Why?
Oh, just because we're just doing goals again at the end of class. It's just kind of weird. you know,
Carissa, do you think it's weird?
No.
and it's taking a long time, But anyway, okay. So I'm gonna go back to you, Parissa. Okay. Or no, you can both do this. Now that you have your goals and you know what that looks like, okay.
Yeah.
Just write down these questions. What will having the goal do for you? Or those things that you listed, what it will do for you. Ask what's important about that. And this is where you'll be eliciting some of those values. And actually, before we do that, let me go over this real quick. Up here, these are examples of some of the values you want to get to. Things like peace, love, joy, freedom, passion, fun. Actually, fun shouldn't even be in there. Growth, creativity, humor, playfulness, happiness, authenticity, kindness, love, empowerment. So these are just some examples. It can also be success, determination. Now, these right here, these are things that are too general to be useful. So things like fulfillment, meaning, purpose, contentment, even confidence. These are all byproducts of having your values, living from your values. These are byproducts. They're not values in and of themselves. And then values that are traps. See this first one, Parissa, we talked about?
Yeah.
So respect is something that it's nice to have. It's great when we have it, but if we're attached to it, then that is seeking externally from ourselves. All of these values up here are things that we can create within ourselves. They're all positive. They're all about ourselves that we can create for ourselves in the future. Right? So they're all positive, what we want rather than what we don't want. They're about ourselves, not about other people. And it's something that we can create in the future. And so, again, respect is great to have. It's a great feeling. But if we're chasing respect, then that's something out there and that's away from energy that's being at effect. Power. Power implies having power over other people. And so instead of power, you would want empowerment because that's inside of ourselves. It's not power over ourselves because that's creating division within ourselves. And then same with status. It's about elevation above someone else. Self-love, we talked about. Instead, just make it love. Instead of dividing and separating ourselves from love. Like, we're not separate. We are a person, right? So, like, Catherine, when you were being coached after the session, like, oh, well, my purpose is to bring joy and help people feel special and important. And I was like, oh, so that's your role, is to help people in those ways. You're like, yeah, I'm really good at it. And you're really good at it. So are you a person? Does that include you? So just include yourself in the love, essentially.
Okay.
Self-love creates some separation when it comes down to values. So just include yourself in love, in the love, and just say love. Loving, being loved, just love. Pride, like pride is good, but it's also like lower on the vibratory scale because there's a certain level of self-importance that keeps us from gratitude and other higher vibration emotions. And so if you use pride, you can just ask yourself the question, what would I have? What aspects of pride would I have without the self-importance? And you'll find yourself finding these more high vibration words. Discipline is another one. Discipline and willpower are both similar. Sometimes people say, I value discipline and willpower, and that's a lot of, hustle bros. The thing about discipline and willpower is it's creating war within yourself. I need to discipline myself. What image comes to mind when I think about discipline and willpower? You guys can answer that. What image comes to mind when you think of discipline and willpower?
My dad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is it positive?
No.
Discipline is something that you do to your children when they're
Okay.
when they're acting out of line. When you need to shape them up, get them out of line. Same with restriction. Willpower, same thing. Because it's me having to will myself against myself. what that's doing is it's setting up polarity within myself. So it's setting up dynamics within ourselves that create war within ourselves. Dividing yourself. Same thing with self-love. It's dividing me from me. So like, what's the part of me that's not wanting to do it versus the part of me that wants me to do it? I'm having to force myself, will myself. And that vibrational scale that comes from the book of Power versus Force. So inner power doesn't come from forcing ourselves. It comes from lifting ourselves to a vibration, getting ourselves aligned so that we want to do that. So instead, you can say determination instead of discipline or willpower. Because if you set up these parts of you to fight, thinking you need a willpower discipline, that's going to set you up to be like, oh, I have to watch motivational videos so I can defeat the laziness. See how that's like judging and shaming and blaming and warring the part of you, calling it lazy.
Yeah.
I don't want that anymore, because all parts of us are there for a reason.
Yeah.
Right? The laziness, if you were to call it that, is there for a reason, because of something that it values. That's just an idea of some of the values, what they look like. And so, yeah, writing down what's important to you about that. And then just keep asking those two questions. What will that do for you? So now that you have that list, what will that do for you? And then what will that do for you? What's important about that? And then I want you to just, without thinking too hard, just circle your top 5 values. They don't have to be in order. Just go ahead and circle them. So, Parissa, what are your top 5?
True choice, creativity, empowerment, playfulness, focus.
What's important to you about focus?
Self trust.
So trust.
Trust, yeah, within myself.
Got it. And when you have trust, what will you have?
Calm, confidence, that coolness that you were talking about, cool within myself.
Would you say that's peace?
Peace, yes.
Okay. All right, so we're going to go with peace there. What's important to you about true choice?
Autonomy, like decision-making power.
When you have autonomy and decision-making power, what will you have?
I'll be in a soft body state, relaxed state. It'll be like an ease of the tension of life. I'll have balance, I think.
And when you have balance, what will you have? Balance and ease, what will you have?
When I have balance and ease, I'll have gratitude.
And what is important about gratitude?
It brings more of life's goodness, or it allows me to feel better more often. That positive outlook on life.
All right. So we'll go with gratitude there. So, of gratitude and creativity, what's more important? Just first thing that comes to mind.
Gratitude.
All right. Gratitude and empowerment, what's more important?
Gratitude.
Gratitude and playfulness, what's more important?
Gratitude.
Gratitude and peace, what's more important?
Gratitude.
All right. Of creativity and empowerment, which is more important?
Empowerment.
Between empowerment and playfulness, what's more important?
Empowerment.
Between empowerment and peace, what's more important?
Peace.
Okay. All right. So then between and so then we had empowerment. So then between creativity and playfulness, what's more important?
Creativity.
Creativity. And then playful. All right. So those are your top values in this area, in this context. Right? When it comes to your home. And when it's some other decision, some other goal, you can do this process again.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, what are my values around this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so, Catherine, what have you got for your values?
I have peace, love, growth, happiness, and gratitude.
Beautiful. Okay, so between peace and love, what's more important?
Love,
Between love and growth,
love,
between love and happiness,
um, happiness,
between happiness and gratitude.
happiness.
Happiness. Okay. Okay, so then between love and growth, what's more important?
Love,
Between love and gratitude, what's more important?
um,
First thing,
love,
love. Okay. All right. So between gratitude and peace,
gratitude,
gratitude and growth.
um,
First thing,
gratitude,
gratitude. Okay. Between peace and growth,
um, growth.
growth. Okay. Great. So those are yours: happiness, love, gratitude, and growth. In relation to this goal of organizing your home. Isn't that interesting? How those values are what's driving having an organized home.
Hmm.
And Parissa, for you, how those values are underlying having and owning a home of your own. All right. All right. So now I want you to create a vision of yourself. So in your mind's eye, I want you to see yourself. And so maybe you see like on a movie screen of the mind, or maybe you just see yourself. I want you to see shoulders up, a picture of yourself. And you can do this with eyes open or closed, but it works better with eyes closed.
A vision of this like goal being met.
So I want you to see yourself, and this should be pretty vague. I don't want you to see yourself. This is a vision of you having this goal, being this
Mm-hmm.
goal, but I don't want you to see yourself being a certain place or having certain things. No external things are needed for you to have this. You're just seeing a picture, a vision of yourself from your shoulders up, seeing yourself, Parissa, having and being the gratitude, the peace, the empowerment, the creativity, the playfulness. Catherine, for you. Are you ready, Catherine?
Yeah. So you want us
Yeah.
to
So
visualize these
yeah,
values?
yeah. Are you seeing? Are you seeing yourself? So see yourself. It's like a movie of you from your chest up. You're in frame and you're seeing yourself having and being the happiness, the love, the gratitude, the growth, the peace. And then from here, if anything else comes up in that vision, go ahead and allow that vision to unfold. I want you to first see yourself, nothing else outside of you, just you. No external conditions are needed. It's you having, experiencing, being that happiness, love, gratitude, growth, peace. Carissa, the gratitude, peace, empowerment, creativity, playfulness. And then anything else that wants to unfold, you're not making it happen. If something unfolds, if you see something else as a part of that vision, allow that to come up. Any representations that arise in relation to this, to these values, to this vision. So this is the vision right here. It's you seeing yourself, the shoulders up. Anything else comes about from that vision of you embodying this emotional embodiment of the happiness, love, gratitude, growth, peace, empowerment, creativity, playfulness, the things that are your values. And everything else is an out picturing. Keep seeing that until, if it isn't already, that it's exciting, right? That you're lit up by this image. All right. And then we will do the second part of this tomorrow. I was just looking over how long that might take. We'll do it on Thursday. So how was that? Seeing that vision of yourself?
I mean, it brought me to a higher vibration energy, like feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I felt lighter.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have to do much. The vision kind of played out without much effort. And I was enjoying what I was seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, the vision had a lot of movement. Like I imagined myself shoulder up, but I was like walking and like swaying and like busy doing things and smiling and happy.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
What
it
about
was
you?
comforting.
Oh, comforting. What about you, Catherine?
I visualizing it made me feel like I'd reached my goals.
Oh yeah. Oh. And question: were you seeing yourself? Were you seeing yourself like on a screen?
Yeah, I was.
I don't know if I was specifically seeing myself on
All right.
this.
So I want you to do it again, Catherine, because this, I want you to be dissociated rather than associated. So this whole time we've been working together, I've been wanting you to be associated to feel it in your body. And now I want you to be dissociated because um, the benefit to that is you're seeing it out there and you're seeing it as something to move toward rather than something that you already have. Because what happens if you think you already have it?
You don't strive for it.
Mm-hmm. So this is where it's different from a lot of law of attraction stuff and stuff that I may have even taught you before, right? I've got 20 different tools in my tool bags, lots of ways to pet a cat. And so for this, I want you to see yourself in front of you. Like you're looking at yourself, like you're looking at an image being projected onto a screen. Okay. So go ahead and do that. That's right. And let me know when you see yourself. Again, it's just like a headshot. Shoulders up, see your face. It might not be super clear, but you can see yourself. Do you see yourself?
I see myself.
Good. And now see yourself having those values. As you look at that image, and there's nothing else around, you don't need anything else. There's no people, there's no circumstances. You're not seeing your house, you're not seeing yourself doing work, you're just seeing yourself all by yourself, having and being happy, love, gratitude, growth, and peace. See her, see Catherine having and being that without anything else. The happiness, love, gratitude, growth, and peace. It's all there. It's all available. And then if anything else from there comes into the vision, you can allow that to happen. But you're not forcing it. The main thing is to just see yourself, just yourself, with those values, living those values, and then seeing what arises from there. That love, that happiness, the gratitude, the growth, the peace. Catherine has that. She has that. You see that? Is that clear to you?
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
super clear. Awesome. Awesome. So sleep on that vision. Okay. And then we'll do part 2 on Thursday. Part 2, we're gonna be rooting out any resistance that might be there. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. See you on Thursday.
Good night.
Night.
Night.